Hey guys, it's Nova, and we're doing another one of the character designs. This time we're doing the magical design for Willow. Real quick, before we jump into this, again, mic issues, if it's still going on, will be resolved as soon as I can after I finish my PC build, because, priorities, like I said. But aside from that, also, if I sound rough, again, I'm going to try and edit out, like I have been, any sniffs or coughs or throat clearing, because, of course, I am getting sick again. I don't know why, I'm kind of starting to think it's stress. Because, quick side note, I do have immune issues. And when you have immune issues, when you get stressed, it makes your immune system worse again. So I think I'm getting sick again because of that, because of stress. And what really sucks is that it's getting to be summertime and summer weather here. I usually don't get sick in the summer. So, I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's caused it. I mean, there's a plethora of things that could have caused it. I don't know. But I will try and edit out any noises that I need to for, to try and make this less sounding horrible. But getting into the actual image, I really like how this turned out. I like the end result. I'm not as sure how I feel about all the colors. There's a couple of colors whenever it gets to it that I am definitely sure of. But I really do think that while I enjoy the design, I don't think this is quite what I'm going for Willow's costume design. Now, hers is based on a griffin, because a couple of different reasons. For one thing, her element is wind, air. Griffins fly. They're the eagle-lion mix. So I liked that for her, specifically with being wind element. But I also liked it for a couple different reasons. One of them that I mentioned last time was that I am a nerd. I like Dragon Age. And because I am a nerd who likes Dragon Age, I just, with, the wardens, griffins, I had to manage to work it in somewhere. And yes, among all of them, a dragon is mixed in there somewhere. Just so y'all know ahead of time, I'm not going to say who, but there's a dragon and a wyvern. Is it wyvern or wyvern? I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm going to say wyvern, but there is a dragon and there is a wyvern. I'm not going to tell you who is what until we get to the actual designing for that. But now that we're done with that little tangent, speaking about Willow's design, I really enjoyed designing this, but I feel like her costume design is a perfect example of the fact that Trace is something that is still in very early concepting, especially visually, because it's just, I like it, but it's also not quite what I'm going for like a magical design. I feel like with Linden, it really comes across more potential magical boy transformation than it does for Willow. So because I think it comes off a bit more obviously. Now there were things that I wasn't able to get the sketch phase for this. Like on video, I didn't think about it. I'm trying to get more in the mindset of that. But I did a couple of different things with like the lower portion of the outfit. Like at first it was just your typical, your robe kind of thing with like loose, comfortable pants underneath. But that was leaning a bit too much into the fantasy-inspired aspect of it without bringing near enough of the magical design into it. So because of that, the end result with that is sort of a layered skirt with ruffles, and I want to start expanding on that a bit more. And for her design, along with which her weapon inspiration is spellcaster, sorcerer kind of thing. Hence the floating book in the final design. But it's still reading to just straight up spellcaster and not enough magical girl. So I'm actually considering bringing in elements from the ballet interest that she has and the ballet focus that she has in her civilian life into the costume. I just think that would be neat and a way to turn it from just, a really pretty sorceress kind of thing into a magical girl kind of design. And I think it'll be interesting. I kind of waffled back and forth when I was doing the sketching in regard to there's a little bit of a headpiece on her forehead. I don't know if I'm going to do that with everybody, but her design compared to Lyndon's felt a little bit empty without that. But there's also the fact that with Lyndon's, there was a practical reason for it. But practical for the costume design portion, not saying the accessory itself has a practical use. But his creature is unicorn, so the horn. Now on hers, with her hair, I did kind of go for a little bit more of like a wingy, feathery look with that, with the way her hair falls and the extra little bits that come off of the bun at the back. I liked that. I thought it looked kind of feathery and wispy. And same for the cloak, the little cape, the mini cape around her shoulders, because I like mini capes. I think they're cute. The little mini cloaks are adorable. But I liked it to have kind of a feather theming. And I enjoyed that also for actually the breastplate for her armor. It kind of has the shaping, and this is one of those, it's very vaguely alluded to. It's not spot on because I couldn't get the shape spot on without just looking like there was just an eagle beak on the chest. So I kind of tried to do a layered breastplate kind of look, layered metal, 2 layers, to kind of represent like the eagle beak for the griffin. Because again, griffins are like half eagle, half lion. So I wanted to play into that. And the problem is, though, that especially in the sketching phase, whenever I got further into it, I realized, oh, how am I gonna fit the lion portion into here? And that became its own problem, because how do I do that? How do I incorporate the lionness into there? And I eventually went with something that is another reason why this design is going to be subject to change later on, both colors and design. Now, one thing I will keep is like the really pale, like grayish whitish green kind of color for her hair in her transformed state. And I do think I've started a theme with Lyndon, with the eye color being also the gem color, and leaning towards leaning towards the gem color having to do with the element, and therefore the eye color having to do with the element. That way I could pull that in and kind of tie things together color-wise. Although I might end up ditching the element colors at one point for the costume design. Lyndon's won't have to change that much color-wise, but I don't feel like Willow's costume design is saying griffin. It's definitely saying bird. But that's part of the problem with the lion portion being an afterthought, and it became this whole thing where it ended up kind of like on a griffin. The back half is a lion, and for her it was like waist down. That was where we got into more of the lion elements, which there aren't very many. I do like her shoes, and I did bring the ballet element into it with the Magical Girl, with having the actual, like, the straps that go up her calf and her shin. And the ties for those kind of end in little tassels, kind of like a lion's tail. And there's also a secondary cape that goes along with her capelet that comes down, and it's more of just like a long piece of cloth with a big colorful orb, a big gem-colored orb that has a bit of a tassel kind of look, like the way the cloth is bunched and goes out and then down to the point. And those were part of the only elements I could really think of to incorporate with the lion idea. And another thing with that I did, it was a small thing, was on her shoes it almost has kind of just very vague kind of delineations, like with the paws, like paw toes. And I do think on the underside of the shoe, there is a print, like a design for like toe beans, because I have to, and I like that, and it's cute. But while I like Willow's design as a design, I don't know that I like the costume design as a Griffin Magical Girl. And I think part of that, and where that gets lost in translation, is the colors. At least looking back at it, coming back to the image and looking at it, that's where I think it's losing some of that, which is kind of frustrating a little bit. It's a little bit frustrating on that front, because I want these to translate properly, and I think it's battling internally. There's a little bit of a fight going on with, okay, do I just represent the element with the crystal color and with the gem color on the outfits and with the eye color? Do I just do that and lean more into the actual colors that I can imagine for the creatures on the outfits? I'd love to hear some input from you guys and what you guys think on it, because I also don't want to go too overboard color-wise and have too many, and I think that was something that I almost ran into here, was too many variations, and they were all variations of green and like a blue-green, because green and like a pale blue-green is always what I associated with wind colors, and I don't know that that works as well for Willow in particular as a character and for this costume. So I might end up having to go back over that. Now, with going back to comparing it to Lyndon's, one thing that I thought was that where his is light, his gives me a lot more playroom in general anyway, just because, which, you know, I went with yellow and almost a topaz-y type of gem for him. But I do think that his element gives me a lot more wiggle room on color in regard to, like, the spectrum of light. The spectrum of visible light. You've got the whole rainbow in there. And it was tempting, admittedly, to cheat on that front with his. But I liked keeping it to just, like, you know, yellow, a sun, a light, something shining. And I want to try and maybe lean more towards adjusting things so that the gem indicates the element, while the outfit indicates what it's actually themed around. And I hope I'm not rambling too much. I'm trying not to go in circles, but I've also had an exhausting past couple of days. So, you know. But again, I do like her design as a design. I just don't think it's fitting for a Griffin-based magical girl. And thinking about that, I do think that's an issue that if I don't recognize it now and acknowledge it now, I'm just going to run back into it as I go forward with the others. So I think it's going to have to be something that I more so nip in the bud now and, like, just have maybe the hair and eye colors so long as I can make them fit with the outfit composition. So long as I can fit them with the outfit composition, I would like to have the eyes and the hair color maybe either relate to the element or be able to fit in there somewhere. Again, with Lyndon's, I have a lot more room with that, but I definitely think that I'm going to have to move away from just element colors on the clothing. And so with that, I do ultimately like some of the structure of the outfit. One thing I think I'm going to keep is the little capelet that has a feathery look to it. I might add to it, make it look more feathery, but without being too detailed. Kind of lean into the feathery aesthetic. And if you guys have any suggestions of how to more so represent the lion portion of it, please let me know, because I really like Griffin for her and I don't want to have to change it, especially because Griffins, from what I have come across, are supposed to represent leadership, and she is the team leader. So I think that I need to ask for feedback outside of just the immediate people around me. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I think that's something that could be a lot of fun to play with and try and incorporate, because critique is helpful. You know, I've done videos on talking about critique as a thing before. Critique in general is helpful so long as the people giving it aren't just being jerks, because nobody's going to listen to you if you give critique and you're a jerk the whole time. But I'm definitely asking for feedback with this, and with any of it with Trace. If you have suggestions, tell me, because I'd like to at least play around with them and see how they do. Because that's one of the things that I like about posting. I can get other perspectives that I don't really get day to day. And I think that would be very helpful, especially in this case, which could help going forward. Oh, also, going forward after this video with the others that I do with the character designs, would you guys like hints going forward as to who might be which creature and who might be which element with everyone else on the team? I still have a couple of characters to introduce. Like, we've got Lyndon, we've got Sorrel, I've still got, I think the only one I have left to actually introduce. Oh no, wait, Sorrel might just be on my Patreon so far. Anyway, there is, at minimum, one more on the team that I need to introduce in general that I haven't yet. And that I'm going to need to. Because he just hasn't popped up yet. But if you guys would like to hear maybe like little hints of who is what element, who is what like class for their weapon, and who is what creature for their transformation, I would love to hear it, or I would love to give them if you would like hints, because I think it would be cool once we have all of the characters designed for people to try and figure out first with the rest of them, maybe who is what, and that could be really interesting because I think there are a few that would be obvious and a few who would not be. But getting towards the end of this, who would you guys like to see next of the ones that we've already got up? I don't think I'm going to introduce the last character of the main group yet, just because I still need to sit down and really work on him as a character and his design. But for basic concept and potentially transform design, would you guys want to see Poppy or Clover or Hazel or Hawthorne? Or would you like to have more of the character debut kind of for Sorrel, who, again, I don't think I've really introduced him on the channel yet, but he has been introduced on my Patreon. So if you guys have a particular one that you want to see more of, definitely let me know. If you have any other like ideas of design things that you want to see me do, like maybe turning certain things into characters or anything like that, or if you want to maybe hear about more of my different ideas. I'm thinking about doing a big video at one point that takes like different little aspects of each of my little story ideas and kind of introduces the general concept of each of them, so you guys can get an idea of just how crowded my brain is with all of these characters and concepts just chasing after each other and fighting for attention all the time. But definitely let me know if you want to hear more about that, because real quick, a short rundown, this is not all of them. This is not at all of them. I have a couple of different fantasy ideas. There is a Trace prequel idea. There's also 2 different zombie ideas. There's a superhero concept. Actually, no, there's 3 different zombie ideas, actually. And there's a superhero concept. And of course, there's Trace. And there's also one that I have that focuses around, like, paladins and mages that I think is a lot of fun. And I really enjoy it, and I enjoy playing with it and the characters in it. So let me know if any of those sound interesting and you want more information about them. Or if you have any, maybe, ideas of just, like, you know, taking neat things and turning them into magical girls or superheroes or anything like that. If you have any suggestions of things that you want to see more from me, or maybe art topics that you want me to talk about, or if you have any questions for me that you would like to answer. I'm not going to quite do a Q&A video yet. I would like to wait until things grow a bit more. We are getting really, really close to 1,000 subscribers, and that is throwing me for such a loop that I don't think I know how to deal with, because it's getting really close, and I don't know how to process that. It's something that I do not understand how it's happened, but I'm very excited about it and very happy about it. But maybe at one point when we hit a different milestone, I'll do maybe a bit of a Q&A. So if you guys think that would be fun, maybe stick some questions down below. If there's any of them that I can make into like just a full video on their own that would be good to answer the question, then I totally will, because I think it'd be interesting. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you do like Willow's design, even though it is going to change. I know that at the concepting stage, there are going to be people who are like, no, don't change it. I like it how it is. But I think just because it's not hitting where I like it, it probably will change. But just definitely leave your feedback down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a special thanks to my patrons, Inside Chaos, Salmon, and Creativa Artly. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and take care of yourselves. Bye!